Hey everyone, you're listening to Last Match Standing. Before we jump in today, we'd be remiss not to mention the passing of Harley Race. We just learned of his passing today before recording this, and wanted to say a few words in memory of his legacy. Harley Race was an incredible man. As a child, he overcame polio, and at 18 began wrestling around territories in Nashville, until partnering with Larry the Axe Hennig, Mr. Perfect's father. They moved over to AWA, and for several years they were on top of the tag team championship division over there, holding multiple championship belts. And Race decided after a while to focus on a solo career and moved over to NWA. He was the first holder of the Mid-Atlantic United States Heavyweight Championship, which is the original iteration of the current-day WWE United States Championship. He had a career-defining rivalry with Terry Funk and some incredible NWA Heavyweight Championship matches with the Funks. Harley used a very rare submission move called the Indian Deathlock, and I've always loved the Indian Deathlock personally, and the only person I've ever actually seen use it in modern wrestling is Triple H. A lot of people don't know. In 1978, almost 20 years before WrestleMania 3, Harley Race body slammed Andre the Giant. In the mid-'80s, Race helped establish some of the biggest names in wrestling, such as Ric Flair, having one of the most memorable matches in NWA history against Flair in a bloody steel cage match at Starrcade, A Flair for the Gold. Moving over to WWF in 1986, Harley Race won the second ever King of the Ring and continued his wrestling until his in-ring retirement in 1993. Harley Race was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004. Race's legacy lives on through his local Missouri wrestling promotion, World League Wrestling, his students, most notably Trevor Murdoch and Tommaso Ciampa, and through the hearts of every single one of us who loves the best damn sport in the world, professional wrestling. So now just a few moments of silence in honor of the life and career of Harley Race.
Let me just say, after Vito distorting the belt to proclaim me the real world champion, I'm going to tell you all, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one. And this is the only title in the wrestling world that makes you number one. When you are the king of the WWF, you rule the world. Think about it like that, Mr. Perfect.
Guys,
the brave. Woo! 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 Let's give a big one. Woo!
With a tear in my eye, I would like to welcome you to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time.
Woo!
As always, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
And man, oh man, do we have a match for you today.
Ooh, yes, we do.
It's our first ever Royal Rumble.
Oh, man.
And I love that it's not January. Like we are not restricted to the confines of time on this podcast.
Buckle in, folks.
It's gonna be a long one, but we're ready for it. But before we get going, I have some thank yous to say. Some quick shout outs. It's been a really, really fun week for us here at Last Match Standing. First of all, part of that is thanks to the Attitude Era podcast. We want to thank them so much for their time on their podcast, giving us a shout out. It was brilliant.
It was a real treat.
It was.
We are all longtime listeners of Attitude Era Podcast. We absolutely love what they have going over there. And I mean, couldn't have asked for a nicer group of guys to give us a pat on the back there. So we really appreciate it.
Right. If for some reason you haven't heard of or haven't been listening to the Attitude Era podcast, jump on it. It's a great podcast, and the thing about it is that it's always a good time to start. Right. And so totally jump in with them. You're going to love it. You're going to laugh. You're going to really appreciate it. So we appreciate them for that. So a big shout out to them. But we also had some listeners interact, and we got some suggestions this week, and it was awesome. We are locked and loaded, it feels like, for the next couple of months with suggestions now.
We got a lot of match suggestions.
Yeah, we got...
And guys, this is what it's all about. This was literally, when we were sitting around the table talking about what kind of podcast we wanted to do, we didn't want it to just be the three of us talking about matches we liked. We wanted to build a list of 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time based on everyone's opinion. So thank you so much for letting us know what matches you consider the greatest of all time. We cannot wait to jump in.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is we had a variety of matches, and it kind of shows you how subjective, of someone's list of the greatest matches of all time is. What people think is the greatest varies based on the three of us are very different. And it shows in our listeners, at Frankie Mon on Twitter, at podcast_Hitman, at Jonathan Joy 17 on Twitter. All three of those guys, three very different forms of suggestions, and we loved them all. We're super excited to kind of bury through them and dig through them and see what we want to do there. We got our first email from Tim. Is that right, Landon?
Oh, we absolutely did. Tim, thank you so much for your wonderful email. And, I'm really excited about this because in Tim's email, he mentioned that the Royal Rumble 1992 is one of his favorite matches of all time. And we're going to be covering that today. So I hope you're listening, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really fun. We did a Twitter poll this week to decide what was going to be the match that we did. And the Royal Rumble 1992 actually ended in a tie. Which is our first tie in our Twitter poll. So that means we have our next match planned as well. But to be able to do the 92 Royal Rumble is going to be just a blast. I also want to take this time to thank Kay Houston, who reviewed us on Apple Podcast. So super appreciate that. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, feel free to review us, rate us. We'd love to hear your feedback.
And it really does help out the podcast.
Oh, it absolutely helps. We want to know, first of all, how you're feeling. But more importantly, to be able to get that word out there is super important to us. So we really, really appreciate that. And if you want to be cool like Tim and email us, please do that. You can do that lastmatchstanding@gmail.com. And then our slew of Twitter interactions this week, we'd love to have more of those. So if you want to do that, you can do that at lastmatchcast on Twitter.
We are very happy to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. But without further ado, January 19th, 1992, from the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, New York, the Royal Rumble match for the WWF Championship.
I just want to first off say, I know we were talking about just this match in general, but I watched the entire show. This might be my favorite opening promo of all time.
What's it like? I don't know that I've seen it.
It basically goes like this. Welcome, everybody, to the 1992 Royal Rumble match. And then Vince McMahon introduces all 30 men.
Okay, I'm actually glad you said that. I'm really glad you did the impression. But more importantly, Vince McMahon, you're absolutely right. In the opening promo, he lists every single superstar.
Randy Savage, Texas Tornado, Barbarian, Sid Justice,
My personal favorite, the Repo Man. But that's besides the point.
the Repo Man.
The point is, could you imagine right now, in next year, in 2020, if they started the show by reading off everyone that's participating in the Rumble?
No, because the Rumble is built around like surprise entrants now. We don't know who's in it.
Oh, and how about the fact that we have 2 Rumbles? So we'd be sitting there for 60 entrants.
That's absolutely right. But it was one of those things where I watched the opening promo. I heard Vince, as only he can, read off the list of entrants. And I thought, man, this is so 1992. But I loved it a lot. I thought it was a really fun start.
I love the match card photos. Because they talk, Rowdy Roddy Piper. And he has like the nicest smile. Like, oh, he looks so happy to be here.
So before we jump into 1992, I know none of us were around in 1992.
I was.
What I mean is, none of us were around and watching wrestling.
Oh no, I could barely speak in '92.
So, what was everyone's first Royal Rumble match?
My first Royal Rumble match was the Royal Rumble 2000.
Royal Rumble 2000 in
First
New
one.
Orleans.
That's 2001.
That's 2001. Okay, which one was 2000?
2000 was in Madison Square Garden.
Oh,
That was the headline was Cactus and Triple H. Oh. Yeah, that was that Rumble.
so I think my first Royal Rumble was 2003. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Is that where we had the terrible match between Triple H and Scott Steiner?
Yes, it was Triple H and Scott Steiner, but also on that card was Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit.
I remember watching that, and then you kept making fun of me because my match cue had Triple H versus Scott Steiner on it, and you mocked me for like a week. And I'm like, I was watching Angle and Benoit. I was not watching Triple H and Scott Steiner. And then I went home and watched Triple H and Scott Steiner. And then I just like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Holla, if you hear me.
Big Bad Booty Daddy.
Feel free to listen to us at half volume today. Sorry about that.
Usually, when you're in a ring, you have a 1 in a 50% chance to beat the other guy. But when you're in the ring with me, Scott Steiner, Big Papa Punk, you got a 1 in a 33% chance.
Because I'm a genetic freak and I ain't normal. That's why at Sacrifice, you got a 33 and a 30% chance of winning. Kurt Angle knows he can't beat me, so he's not even going to try. So I got a 66 and 2/6 chance of winning. Samoa Joe, the numbers don't lie. Sorry, that's my favorite promo of all time. We're gonna jump into the Rumble.
2005, guys, was my first Royal Rumble. John Cena and Batista getting eliminated at the same time. Vince McMahon coming in,
blowing his quads.
tearing his quads to shreds.
Oh, I remember that segment.
Yeah, that was my very first Rumble.
Oh, I was so confused when I watched that the next day.
If you don't know what we're talking about, whenever that moment happens, Vince comes out and he's about to, figure it out because you got two refs arguing in the middle of the ring. Is
Right.
it John Cena or is it Batista, the two biggest guys in the company at the time? Who's going to Mania?
What's great about it is that was a complete accident. They just happened to
absolutely.
go out at
Right.
the exact same time. You couldn't have planned that any better.
Oh, I loved it. And so McMahon
Vince didn't love it.
McMahon comes sliding into the ring like you see wrestlers do. They just slide on in under the bottom rope. But he just happens to blow both of his quads while doing so. And so he goes to stand up and immediately falls on his ass.
Well, I think the way that Cornette explained it is you got to remember when wrestlers do that, they're not wearing pleated slacks. They're wearing either trunks or they're wearing tights. They're stretched out and they haven't been sitting in a chair for 5 hours. And they weren't 62 years old at the time either.
But the best part about it was he continues
He just
the
sits,
promo.
sits on his ass and goes, "Ah, rah, rah, rah." And then he refused to be helped out of the ring, which even made it worse.
Oh, I loved it.
I love the Royal Rumble. I just love it.
I do too.
Even in years where it's not great, I still love it.
So
I agree.
I love the Royal Rumble for two reasons. First off, I love a battle royal.
Yes.
Battle royal is my favorite match type. Typically, I would prefer a pin battle royal. Like, so if there's like 6 or 10 guys in the ring, and the only way to get eliminated is by pinfall or submission,
Right.
I love that more than an over the top rope.
I feel like that would be even longer.
But I like, and I think less so of a battle royal situation. I like the elimination match stipulation. And so the concept of the Royal Rumble is that superstars are eliminated one by one, and that's just so interesting to me.
I agree.
The second reason why I love the Royal Rumble is because it is the official kickoff to the road to WrestleMania. It is WrestleMania season. It feels like Christmas all the way through April. As a wrestling fan, you love the Royal Rumble.
You do.
Well, sometimes it feels like Christmas. Other times it's like, ugh.
Well, and that's, kind of says to my point, like, even when it's not great, it still means something. And I love that it's the start of the road to WrestleMania. I love the excitement. I love the surprises. I love, you know what my favorite part about the Royal Rumble is? The stat video that they always play before.
The numbers don't lie.
Exactly. It's one of my favorite things ever. But today we are covering what is arguably the greatest Royal Rumble match of all time.
Oh, yes.
In 1992. I know that we had to get there first. And I know since it is in 1992, we're going to have some listeners that maybe don't know as much of the how we got here. So I'd love to take a moment now to kind of talk about that.
It's an interesting turn of events.
Yeah, so prior to this, Ric Flair had only been in the company like 3 months.
Yeah, I think he came in, what was it, in October?
It was
like late October?
September,
okay.
September 9th, yeah. So it was September 9th, 1991 on Primetime Wrestling. Bobby Heenan with the big gold belt introduces Ric Flair in his first WWF appearance. And I love it because he's like, Hulk Hogan, whoopee, big deal. The greatest world's heavyweight champion in the history of this great sport. I mean, his sell of Ric Flair is just excellent.
I just love that he makes the stage manager roll out the red carpet for him.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And he's holding the World Heavyweight Championship belt the entire time. And I remember watching this segment a couple days ago, and I was like, oh, I've actually never watched this in its entirety. It's like, it gets really intense because Bobby Heenan is like so serious and so firm. And like, this was like the variety show where they had fun, and he's like being really, really intense and yelling at people.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, we're going to play it a little bit of it for you right now.
For 10 years, it's been two names, Hogan and Flair. Hogan, the WWF champion, Ric Flair, the real world heavyweight champion. Well, now, they don't know any better. They will. Now, let's bring this down to something that Hogan will have to understand. You don't ignore this. My name's Ric Flair, and I'm going to burst that bubble, big man. And henceforth, big man, Hogan, wherever you walk, in any major airport, in any department store, in any hotel lobby, the question is going to be in your face from everyone. Can you beat Ric Flair? You're going to have to wrestle him, Hulk. I mean, Hulk, you're our hero. You're the man. And Hogan, that's where you're going to have to look inside. You're going to have to say to yourself, well, yeah, am I? I don't know. Well, I know. I'm Ric Flair. And I'm the real world champion. I know. How about that, brain? I guess what I'm saying is, Hogan, put up or shut up. Give me the belt. Walk away. Nobody gets hurt. Or what? You got a problem with that, sweetheart? I'll show you what I'm about later on. You keep tight right there. Yeah. It's as simple as that, Hulk. Show us what you got, big man.
Very intense Ric Flair, the challenge issue. Let's get back to action. The Texas Tornado taking on IRS.
It should be known that I love the big gold belt.
Oh, I do too.
Like, I just love it. It's fantastic.
I really
and seeing
wish-
it in that clip is the best.
I really wish they still used it.
So how did we get here? Like, I'm not sure exactly how, like, what happened to get Ric Flair out of WCW and into WWF.
Well,
this is,
it's actually convenient that you asked that question because we have our very own wrestling encyclopedia right here. Paul,
E.
the floor is yours.
It's actually a very interesting story. So in 1992, going into this, the president of WCW was a guy named Jim Herd. And you probably just heard a bunch of wrestling fans go, ugh, Herd. Anyway, so Jim Herd did not like Ric Flair. He thought Ric Flair was too old, and he wanted to push Lex Luger.
You said 92?
Yeah.
The Rumble's
I'm sorry,
in January
1990. I'm sorry, 91. Well,
okay.
he was still president in 92.
Gotcha.
Going into this, like Jim Herd was the president of WCW. He did not like Ric Flair. He wanted to cut Ric Flair's hair and give him a gladiator gimmick called him Spartacus. He also wanted him to drop the title to Lex Luger. Ric Flair didn't want it to title Lex Luger because the title had been promised to Sting. So Ric Flair said, okay, fine. I'll drop this title to Sting tomorrow. But no, not good enough. I'm going to give it to Luger. All right, well then, I'm trying to remember exactly how Rick described this in an interview. Jim Herd told him, fuck you. He said, no, fuck me, Jim, it's fuck you. And so he literally hung up the phone and called Vince McMahon and said, hey, Vince, I'm ready to come over, and I've got the belt with me.
Holy shit.
Talk about a power play.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be honest, they told him he had to surrender the belt. He said, nope, because I still have like a remainder of like $9,500 in this belt. He financed that belt himself. and they still owed him like 10 grand for it. It's like, until you pay me the 10 grand, I'm not giving the belt back.
And you know what he calls that belt?
The real World's Heavyweight Championship.
$75,000 of gold.
Oh, God.
I loved him calling it that. Like that just put a huge smile on my face.
Well, you notice they never called the WCW title.
Nope.
So Jim Herd and the lawyers threatened litigation. They
To
sued
be
them.
fair, though, sorry to cut you off. To be fair, they don't call it the WCW title, but it's not the WCW title.
No.
Before it was the ever WCW title, it was the NWA title.
Exactly. It still has the NWA logo on it.
Right.
But what I think is funny is you see it in the primetime wrestling show, but after that, like the next week when he has the belt, it's pixelated. They were threatened with so much litigation. So Ric Flair would actually go to live events and house shows with the belt, but when they were on TV, he would either be using one of the tag team championships and they pixelate it, or he'd actually have the belt until they paid him all. They finally paid him the money they owed him, and then he just brought a replica belt that they recreated. And I'm like, and that's the belt that became like 20 years later they started using that belt.
Oh, okay.
Like it has the WWF logo and everything.
That makes so much more sense.
But that's you're talking January before this happens. So this is like we're talking September. There's a couple of weeks where he just had like the tag title. And they just pixelated on TV because you can't see it. I just thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Wow.
And Jim Herd was actually relieved of duty about maybe 3 months later. So, yes. Then Ole Anderson took over, but that's another story.
And yeah, so and not to jump way too far ahead, but Ric Flair's time in WWF is relatively short.
He's
So
just over a year.
yeah, so the fact that we get this moment in time is very special, and I feel like that lends itself to why people regard this match as one of the greatest matches of all time, because it's not just considered one of the greatest Royal Rumbles of all time. People talk about this match like it's wrestling gold, and I can't wait to jump in with you guys to see why that is.
Yeah, you know, there are a few instances in Royal Rumble history where the match itself is almost centered around one superstar.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like this actually, like the year we're talking about, 92. I can remember, I think it was like 98. It was all about Austin. Everybody wanted to get to Austin. I remember, was it 2016 when they, like the second time in history, the Royal Rumble's been for the vacant title.
Right.
But like that year, it was all about Roman Reigns and then Triple H won it.
I love that.
I did too. I did at the time. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. Should the Booker? You know what? Screw it. I can't think of anything better. So fuck it. Triple H gets to win.
That's a good point, though. You know, the WWE Championship has only been on the line in the Royal Rumble two times in the history of that match.
Which I think is brilliant.
And
Oh,
I think last
absolutely.
year
It's
was the
brilliant.
30th anniversary. So it's like 30 years. They've only gone to that well two times.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing.
Well, and I think it's for two reasons. One of them is because like how big of a deal does it make it?
Exactly.
But the other thing is it doesn't need it because it's already got such a big prize of being able to go for that title match at WrestleMania.
No, absolutely.
Right?
And actually, I prefer when it's about the build up to Mania because that's what Royal Rumble has been kind of built up as now. That's why Royal Rumble's a big deal.
Well, they do use this match to set up the main event of
They do.
WrestleMania.
They sure do, and we'll talk about that.
Well,
yeah, we'll
because-
get there.
Because the very best Royal Rumble matches are just a bunch of storylines thrown in the ring at once.
They are. And actually, my favorite Royal Rumble moment is probably the Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels match setup from that Royal
yes.
Rumble.
Don't
But
you get me started.
We'll talk about that.
Oh, we'll
another
talk
day.
about that
I just
match at
knew
a later
you would have.
date.
I just knew you were going to say Maven eliminating the Undertaker.
Oh, that was amazing though.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then the
because-
follow up the next year.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, because they had a I'm going to school after that.
So, but I will say having the
Sorry, if you're going to talk about American Badass Undertaker, you got to spit your chew.
having the world championship on the line in a Rumble match completely changes the entire outlook on what's going on. And so it changes the story, it changes what people are doing, and I totally bought the fact that this was a World Heavyweight Championship match because of the stars in the ring. Can you think of a more star-studded Royal Rumble?
For the time, no. There's only really like two people who are not considered to be like, oh, they're not going to win.
So I know you're not talking about the Repo Man.
I'm talking about the Repo
So
Man.
there are 30 superstars in a Royal Rumble match, right? Half of them, 15 of them in this Royal Rumble match are Hall of Famers right now.
Oh, my
Oh, yeah.
15.
And there's a couple that are probably going to go in the next couple of
Right.
years.
There were a few moments when I was watching this match where I just paused it and I just took inventory. Like, I just looked in the ring and I was just like, oh, he's in here right now. He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, God.
There's
I
another
even-
Hall of Famer.
I even
Hall of
wrote,
Famer.
I wrote down, like, at one point, there was like 7 men in the ring, and I think all but one of them was like, okay, there's 6 Hall of Famers and 1 future Hall of Famer in the ring right now.
Doesn't get much more star-studded than this event right here.
Absolutely
Oh,
not.
yeah.
This is one of the very few times that you get Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan in a WWF ring together.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Because that match famously never happened because they didn't want to do it.
One more thing I want to say about this match before we dive into it. I could listen to Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan do commentary on the world's paint drying championships.
I am so happy you mentioned that. This is my favorite iteration of commentary. Like, those two are perfect because they call the matches, but they also just make me laugh, like, nonstop.
I mean, I could literally close my eyes and still enjoy the match.
Oh, yeah, there's a couple of moments in the match where the ring is full of like 10 people. There's not a whole lot going on, but Bobby Heenan is having a heart attack because Ric Flair is getting beaten up in the corner. No, Rick, please, no. I got 20 grand on this match. You got to win this one, buddy.
I'll do anything. I won't be mean to anybody for the rest of my life.
Oh, but somebody get Perfect out there. Perfect, get in there and help him.
So I, obviously, not surprising if you've listened to any of these episodes we've done before, I took notes on some of the commentary. And so I'll save for some of my favorites as we kind of go along the match. But you're absolutely right. If this match is commentated probably by anybody else, they play such a big part in how fun this match is and how intense it is and how important this match feels, that it feels like anybody else, they wouldn't have done it justice.
I think so. But what I really like is right after that amazing opening promo, Vince goes, "It's time to rumble. It's time to Royal Rumble." That amazing classic Royal Rumble music starts playing.
I just want to make a point, Paul. As I'm looking at you do your Vince McMahon voice, I don't think Vince McMahon immediately. You know what I think? I think Vince McMahon off of Camp WWE.
Hey, pal, let's go get some steak wraps. You and me, Austin, and Triple H's father, Quadruple H.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
So, yeah, the 19 Royal Rumble, guys.
We have to do a commentary episode while we watch Camp WWE.
Oh, my God. Bonus episode. Book it.
I'm going to be laughing about Quadruple H for the rest of the day. Okay.
Hey, Seth Green came up with that joke, not me.
It's just
Ironic that Triple H later tore both of his quads.
Well, I think it's funny is Triple
what
H
you did there.
voiced his dad.
This show, it does start with announcing everyone that's in the Rumble, right? But throughout the night, one of the things that I love about this show is the promos that we get from the superstars leading up to the match. Because we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We get 12 different promos from superstars.
2 of which are Ric Flair promos.
2 of them are Ric Flair promos. 2 of them are Hulk Hogan promos.
Do you know why that is?
I love it. I don't care why it is.
Oh, so you don't know?
No, yeah, tell me.
Okay, so on the original broadcast, on the original broadcast, there was only 1 Hogan promo and only 1 Ric Flair promo. Mm-hmm. And they did not mention, or kayfabe didn't know or didn't pull their number yet.
Okay.
In the VHS Coliseum video release, there was exclusive content.
Okay, that's okay because they say that. They say in this Coliseum video exclusive. That's interesting. I didn't pick up on that.
And so if you bought the VHS, you got the exclusive content where Ric Flair talks about pulling number 3. Mm-hmm. And then you get another Hogan promo. But I find it interesting that now we, when we're watching it on the network, we get the full extended version, which is good, but I don't know. It feels so disjointed that the first thing you get is Ric Flair saying, "I pulled number 3." And the next thing you get is Ric Flair saying, I'm going to come out there. And, it's like he doesn't know what number he is.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
But that's a good point, especially if you're watching it on the network or, in any form right now. That's probably how you're seeing it. They did a really good job of picking who was going to be doing these promos before the match.
Yeah.
Obviously Hulk Hogan's, though, just to point out, were super bizarre to me. He wouldn't stop talking about, that's my cup of tea. He said that like 3 times.
Because he's talking to Lord Al.
But he does it the second time when he's not talking to Lord Al.
That's a good point. Well, Lord Al walks into the dressing room and is like, Hulk Hogan, how you doing? Oh, hey there, Brother Al. Let's have a cup of tea, brother.
So, if you've ever heard a Hulk Hogan promo before, he picks like 2 or 3 things, and he just says those things in between brothers and somethings and
Brother Dude Jack, cup of tea.
and Jacks.
That's almost exactly verbatim what it was.
I don't want to do any more Hogan impressions.
They do. You get a promo from British Bulldog. You get one from Sid Justice. You get Randy Savage, Roddy Piper after he just won the Intercontinental Championship.
Yep.
That night.
Double duty.
You get Jake Roberts. You get The Undertaker. You get Shawn Michaels the week after the barbershop.
And his new catchphrase, I don't think so.
This is sexy boy Shawn Michaels. This is the Shawn Michaels that stole everybody's heart in the 90s. And this is what we were talking about when we were talking about how Shawn Michaels had a Hall of Fame career before he ever left and then came back and had a second Hall of Fame career.
Well, he had
this is the birth of that Shawn Michaels.
He had a Hall of Fame mullet, too.
Ooh. It was good. He pulled it off.
There's a lot of mullets in this show. I'm just saying. It's 1992.
I had one in 1992 as well. I'm not kidding. My parents gave me a mullet when I was a kid.
It was the 90s, brother. Different time.
So let's get to it. At this point, I hope you're buckled up because we've got the whole Royal Rumble match to go. So we're not going to obviously bore you with all the play-by-play, but it is important to go through how great of a match this was. And the match starts with the number 1 entrant, and it's a crowd favorite. The crowd loves British Bulldog when he comes out at number 1.
Can we talk about the size of British Bulldog at this point?
Massive.
He looking real jack, brother. He looking real jack.
Okay, I wasn't with that joke, but good one. I was going to point out this is clearly pre-steroid trial.
Real jack.
Yes, I've never seen him that cut before. Like, he's ripped.
This is the best we've ever seen British Bulldog.
Yeah, and he's got the braids. He's got the cape on. Oh man, I really want to talk about SummerSlam '92 at some point. We have to.
Well, I really appreciated that we start off the match with 2 big favorites to win the whole damn thing.
Oh yeah, because number 2 is Ted DiBiase. He comes out with Sherry, and this is actually the match where you find out how he comes out in a suit but is in trunks whenever the camera cuts back. He's wearing stripper pants.
I love it.
It's literally, he's wearing stripper pants. His shirt is literally just like a insert that comes right off and it takes the jacket off. And I'm like,
See, I was always waiting for the Money, Money, Money song to turn.
Lights start. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is before he hurt his back and he was still, like, he could still go.
One of my favorite things in any Royal Rumble is the starting 2. Sometimes we get some really, really... One of my favorites is after Shawn Michaels and Undertaker were the last 2 that year, and they went out for 10 minutes trying to win the thing. The very next year, they were the first 2 to enter the Rumble,
man.
and man, is that fun to watch! It's super, super good. But with British Bulldog, he is considered one of the heavy favorites because he just won a 20-man over-the-top rope Rumble at Royal Albert Hall before this. So he was seen as a guy that knew how to win a Rumble, knew how to win an over-the-top rope battle royal, and even at the number 1 spot, people expected him to be in there a long time.
Oh yeah, and he gets a really loud pop when he comes out. And deservedly so. It looks great. He's conditioned at this point. This is before he started smoking crack with Jim Neidhart. More of that when we review SummerSlam '92.
British Bulldog and Ted DiBiase are the first 2. Bobby Heenan gives me one of my first favorite lines from him in this match when they're talking about strategy. Like, what would your strategy be if you were 1 or 2 in the match? And Heenan goes, "My strategy would be to take a walk." Just get out of the ring and
Well, you
walk.
notice Ted doesn't get
Walk
in the
away.
ring right away. He does kind of walk around the ring all
Right.
the time. Like, that's smart. He doesn't have to get into the ring.
Well, and later, was it IRS who I think it's IRS
Casually
comes out,
walks
and
to the
he's casually
ring.
walking to
Takes
the
his
ring,
time.
and
Takes
Bobby
his
Heenan's like,
time.
that guy gets
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I love that Heenan almost set up his own jokes.
Oh yeah.
You know, like down.
He's that good.
He's that good. But we get British Bulldog and Ted DiBiase to start it off, and it's a hot start.
Oh, yeah,
You
they-
know, they're going right after it. The crowd is loving British Bulldog, and we don't have to wait long for an elimination
Oh, no.
because he eliminates Ted DiBiase before another entrant comes out.
I got to point out, not after we get some beautiful suplexes by Ted. He does 2 vertical, and he does my personal favorite, the gut wrench suplex. And I think people forget how big of a guy Ted is, because Bulldog ain't a little person, and he picks him up with ease.
This is the how the hell did Ted DiBiase never get the heavyweight strap? Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
I agree. I really do agree. But there's a point where he thinks he eliminates Davey, but Davey holds onto the bottom rope, and Ted's actually showboating when he gets drop kicked out. I'm like, ha, there you go, you loser.
And
But it's a shocking elimination.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I think is important to note, just right off the bat, is this Royal Rumble is set up so that a new wrestler comes in every minute. So every 60 seconds.
They said 2 minutes, but I counted. It's literally
yeah,
every
they did
minute.
say 2.
Oh, they said 2?
They said
I
they
could
said,
have sworn.
they said every 2 minutes, but
Oh, okay.
there's no way it's 2 minutes because like they weren't wrestling for 2 whole minutes.
Well, one thing that my wife and I like to do is every Royal Rumble, Hope will take out her little
Love it.
stopwatch.
That's what
and
I was
between
doing.
entrants, she'll count it and she'll be like, that was like 58 seconds.
You know what I think is
Well-
fascinating, though, is that despite the fact that we know that they are never precise, you know, like they're obviously planned how they
No,
want
it's
to do
Vince and Gorilla saying, get the hell out of here.
it. Right. But the end time of the match is always pretty spot on. Like, despite
Yeah,
them doing
that's a
all
good
that,
point.
it's fascinating to me.
I think a good example is last year. It was supposed to be every 90 seconds. I timed it. Some of the entrants 45. Some of them were almost 4 minutes because like, oh, we had to wait here. And then they made it drew out the what's I'm looking for, the drama,
Right.
the beef.
And you know what? I don't mind that. You know,
I don't either.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say this, and then people think, you know, like we're shitting on that. I think it's done very well, and I understand why they do it.
I think it helps serve some phenomenal moments.
It
Well, I do
does.
too.
It's a moment builder, and I appreciate it for that.
But after Ted gets eliminated, as he's walking out of the ring, number 3 comes out, and it is Ric Flair making up Mr. Perfect, and then Bobby immediately goes, "Ah, damn it!" and Gorilla goes, "Well, you could kiss him goodbye, there, brain."
And they stress from the very beginning when they're talking about Ric Flair that no one from the spot 1 through spot 5 has ever made it to the end.
No.
And so already, as soon as Ric Flair comes out, you think he is behind the 8 ball. He's got too big of a hill to climb, and there's no way that Ric Flair is going to be able to last till the end. It's never been done before.
Rick comes in and immediately gets overpowered by Davey, who Gorilla press slams him. And then Bob's like, "I apologize. I don't think I can be a bit objective here." And Gorilla, when have you ever been objective, Bobby?
Hey guys, I totally forgot to mention something.
Yeah?
Before all of this happens, there is nothing better than Howard Finkel saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Royal Rumble match." I mean, how fucking awesome is Fink? Okay, sorry, I had to get that out of my system.
I just thought we were going to skim over. I wrote it down. I'm like, I guess we're not talking
No,
about that.
it's the best.
Oh, you know what? You didn't want to probably talk about it because Jack Tunney comes out and immediately goes, this match is for the undisputed WWF title. Like, he just chokes. Like, do you not know how to talk?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, Jack Tunney is not
Oh, he
popular in
ruins
this
it.
moment in time.
He ruins it. Because Finkel gives like one of the best introductions he's ever done, and then Jack Tunney just fumbles over his lines.
So
I wonder
Ric
they
Flair
fired
comes
him.
out at number 3.
Ric Flair comes out at number 3. Him and British Bulldog exchange blows. Bulldog is dominating. He gets that Gorilla Press slam. The crowd is on fire for it.
Oh, yeah.
And then we get one of the things that I love so much, and I don't know why they don't do this now. I mean, I do know why, but I wish they still did. Number 4 comes out. It's Jerry Sags.
Who I completely forgot about when I was taking notes.
But you see the ring, and then you also see a window at the bottom left corner of your screen that shows you the entrant coming out. So you get the double shot.
They
you get
don't
to
do that anymore.
They don't, but you don't lose the ring, and you also see the entrant come out. And I understand that they want to make a bigger deal about who's coming out now, which is why they don't do it. But I love that shot.
It makes it feel like a sport.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's like if you want to be treated like a sport, then stuff like this will help. But like the reason why I forgot Jerry Sags in the match is because he's in for like 10 seconds and then gets drop kicked out.
Yeah, we have a moment here for the next two guys, Jerry Sags and then Haku comes out at number 5.
Oh my
They're
God.
both eliminated by British Bulldog before someone else comes out.
And to that point, Monsoon does mention, and at this point in Rumble history, this was true. No one who was drawn numbers 1 through 5 made it to the end of the match.
Well, 2 of them were eliminated within 30 seconds.
Right. And so this is the first in a series of small little breadcrumbs that sort of build up to Ric Flair winning the match.
Right.
Oh, sorry, spoilers.
In case you didn't know.
In case we didn't already play the promo he cuts at the
Yeah. So 1 through 5, we're already back down to Ric Flair and British Bulldog, and then things start to change because number 6,
Heartbreak
the Heartbreak
Kid.
Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Oh yeah, he's actually walking out like the countdown is happening whenever Haku gets eliminated, and then when Shawn comes out, I just after Haku gets eliminated, he pile drives Davey Boy. He just gives him a pile driver like, oh, you lost, buddy. Get out, get out. I just love that, and then Ric Flair like, runs out of the ring.
Oh, yeah. So Ric Flair is a genius when it comes to, winning a Royal Rumble match. It's like maybe he heard Bobby Heenan.
Oh, yeah,
Well, Heenan's telling him after Shawn comes out that what Flair needs to do is back off. Like, he needs to stop fighting.
and he just takes a powder immediately.
Right, but what I love about Ric Flair in this match is that for someone that lasts so long, he is in action almost the entire time.
Oh yeah.
It's not one of those got out and hit under the ring or hold onto the bottom rope the whole time. Like, he is active and he is fighting almost the entire match.
But I was going to say, when Shawn comes out, we get our first trope of the match, which is entrant comes in the ring, immediately attacks Ric Flair. I want you to remember every time I say that, that's one.
So Shawn Michaels can sell the shit out of a Royal Rumble, can he?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's the absolute best at looking like you're going to fall out and then not falling out.
There's a point where he's like doing a handstand on the outside. He's got like 1 foot on the top rope, and there's like 3 people trying to push him. I'm like, how is he maintaining his balance?
I mean, this is why he is seen as the guy. This is why he is handpicked as the first person to go the distance in a Royal Rumble as number, 1 or 2.
7 times in this match, he gets thrown over the top rope before coming back in.
Oh, yeah.
7 times.
And even outside of a Rumble match, if Shawn Michaels is in the ring with somebody, that somebody looks good.
Well, because Shawn knows how to sell. He knows how to make people look like they belong in the ring with him.
Yep.
And that's why he had the career that he did. That and backstage politicking, but that's not important. I will say this, though. Did anybody else find it weird when he hits the Sweet Chin music and it's just a move?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is kind of before it was the big deal that it is.
Yeah, it's in the building process.
He hits Davey with it, and Davey goes down but gets right back up. Oh, crescent kick there by Shawn Michaels. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's like his, that's 92.
Yeah. It's still becoming his thing.
The Sweet Chin music was not a thing until 1994.
Yeah.
It was just, it was his DDT. It was just the move.
Well, I think him and Jannetty did super kicks, right?
Right.
They did,
They
but
called
not
them crescent kicks.
because that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's,
It's like a side kick.
well, it's a side crescent kick.
Okay.
But him and Jannetty did it as a double team move to set up for their double team finish.
Sean said Jannetty was the sidekick. Sorry.
Well, originally Shawn was Jannetty's sidekick, but that's not important. But it's like one of the first of many moments where we're about to see like Shawn almost gets eliminated by Flair, and then again by Bulldog, like twice in like 10 seconds he almost gets thrown over, or he does get thrown over, just barely hangs onto that bottom rope and rolls in.
So this is the first moment where it's these 3 guys, and I just look and I go, how awesome is this? You got Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, British Bulldog all in the ring at one time. And it's just that first, oh man.
I guess
kind
this
of
right
moment.
now, did you guys know that there is an alternate commentary track for this match?
I did not know that.
You can watch it with Ric Flair's commentary.
Oh, that's probably incredible.
Wow.
Very interesting. It's based on going, oh, this guy here's dead. And so I'm like, I think I'm going to turn it back onto the regular one. I don't want to hear Ric Flair remind me that half these guys are dead, and they'll die like before they turn 40. That's not important. Number 7.
Paul, you are officially, like, throughout the course of this episode, becoming the guy to just inject a little bit of truth every time we don't necessarily want it. I appreciate it so much.
I like to keep it real at all times.
Yeah, I just love it so much.
But number 7, El Matador, Tito Santana.
Oh,
Arriba.
man. I popped hard when I saw
Did
Tito
you,
Santana.
Tito?
I did too.
Yeah.
I know he hated this gimmick, but he did it so well.
He was really good at it. I really like Tito Santana.
And gentlemen, he immediately goes after Ric Flair.
Yep, and actually that's a big deal because Gorilla Monsoon says, well, this won't buy any time for Flair. So apparently they had, I guess they had a program going, or I know that they had something going outside of WWF.
They did.
And so it was really fun to see like that kind of build up from Gorilla. And it's another one of those spots where they just kind of sprinkle. They make the match about Flair in a subtle way. And it's easy to do that in a Rumble because there's so much going on. You can have these quick little one-liners that remind you, oh, Ric Flair's still in this match. He's a big deal.
Yes.
And then move on to the next spot.
But whenever he tussles with Tito Santana, it's like, oh man, look at Flair selling for Tito. Like, this is a point where Tito was a joke because of his stupid gimmick that he did not want. But when he wrestles with Flair, like, oh man, Tito's great. It's
There's a moment here after Tito Santana comes in where he's tussling with Shawn Michaels, and British Bulldog is still in the match, and Flair goes up behind British Bulldog and hits him with a low blow.
yes.
And Bobby Heenan immediately says, I'd do that to my grandmother if I had to.
And then we get the very first instance of, would you stop?
It's gold. I just love it. Yeah.
Bobby Heenan and
Oh,
Gorilla
I do
Monsoon.
too. That's my favorite commentary. So after this happens, number 8, the Barbarian enters.
Yeah, we have number 8, and then really number 9 is Texas Tornado. Number 10 is Repo Man.
Texas Tornado.
Kerry Von Erich.
Can we talk about Kerry Von Erich?
I gotta say, what does Kerry Von Erich do? He goes right after Flair.
Exactly. Do you know?
And then we get the very first Flair flop of the match.
oh, flip flop.
Oh, it is a great Flair flop.
It's perfect because he just walks, goes down. It's the best thing ever.
You know, like back in the day, whenever he first started doing that, people would like start booing after the match whenever he didn't do it in the match.
Yep.
And he didn't understand. He's like, what's going on? What's going on? And apparently, people were telling him, why didn't you do a Flair flop in that match? He had no idea people liked that.
That's why I started doing it. But I know we kind of jumped around. I want to point out Kerry Von Erich, after Flair does the Flair flop, he gives Shawn Michaels a clothesline, and Shawn Michaels does the Rikishi bump, where he just like basically.
Yeah, turn him inside out.
Did you know Kerry Von Erich did this entire match with 1 foot?
I did know that.
I did not know that.
He was in a really nasty motorcycle accident like a year earlier, and they had to amputate his foot. So
Shut up.
Yeah, and he's jumping around and moving like a wild man in this
you,
match.
you would have
you
no
would
idea.
note it. Never
You would have
noticed.
no idea.
And I think it was about a year later when the fans found out, because he kept this quiet for like 2 years. It's like 94 when people find out that he had a club foot. And then after that, he very tragically took his own life. But I don't want to get that dark on this podcast.
Well, look, Kerry Von Erich is a fantastic. The entire Von Erich family is, a legendary wrestling.
Right.
family.
I mean, you talk about families that mean the most to the business. That's one of them.
And it's a testament to his entire family's legacy that he was able to go out there and perform at the level that he did, and no one would have been the wiser that he was handicapped at all.
Right. Right. And I'm glad that you guys brought back Texas Tornado to talk about that. We should talk about Repo Man as well,
oh yeah,
because he's one of my favorite gimmicks of all time.
I just love that he sneaks to the ring, like he's hunched over and he's sneaking. He's like he ducks down and is looking over the apron before he rolls in.
Who doesn't fear the Repo Man?
He looks like
Which-
the Hamburglar, and I just like his promo before the match. He's like, my whole job is to take what's not mine, so I'm going to take
What's
this
mine
world
is
title.
mine. What's yours
is mine. My favorite thing ever is when he repoed the Macho Man's hat. There's like one time where he's got Bret Hart in a chin lock and he goes, "Pay your bills, Hitman, pay your bills."
Okay, everybody, right now, tweet it out. What is your favorite thing Repo Man has ever repoed? at Last Match Cast.
Well, I
We
think
wanna
at
know.
WrestleMania 17 during the game Battle Royal, it's like, oh, he reported his grandmother last week. Once again, Bobby Heenan.
Yeah,
fucking
surprise,
love you, buddy.
surprise.
We miss
so
you.
we get the first. This is kind of the first part of the match where the ring is starting to fill up.
Oh yeah, we've got like 7 men in the ring now.
Right, and then number 11 comes out, and it's Greg Valentine, which is an important one because the previous year in the Royal Rumble, Valentine lasted 44 minutes and 20 seconds.
But do you know what Greg Valentine does? Goes right after
There
Flair.
it is.
That's 4.
Yep.
And they just start chopping the holy hell out of each other. And it's like, oh, God. Like, Ric Flair has welts on his chest after this match because of Greg Valentine. And then we get number 12. Nikolai Volkov. And I have written down here, oh, he looks like mashed potatoes.
It's funny because it's true.
You know, when we were talking about the prep for this episode, we talked about, we don't want to do a full play-by-play, like that's going to take too long, but we do want to kind of point out who's in the match because that's so important. This is one of those guys that we probably could have skipped over, but just for that comment alone, I'm
He
glad we
doesn't.
did.
He doesn't do anything. He
Nah,
comes in the
he's
ring.
in and out.
I have written down here. Nikolai Volkov comes out. Looks like potatoes. Ric Flair misses the knee drop, and then Greg Valentine locks him in the figure 4. Oh, Volkov is eliminated by the Repo Man. That's what I have written down.
Repo Man gets an elimination. I was excited
Yeah,
for it.
he eliminates Volkov.
I popped hard for that moment. I was there. And then we get the big boss man
Oh,
at number
dude,
13.
The pop he got
Oh,
when he
people
came
loved
out.
it. Yeah. And then,
Oh.
now the ring has started to build up. We've got 6, 7, 8 people, 9 people in the ring. And in this next quote unquote 2 minutes, we lose almost everybody.
Oh yeah, so Big Boss Man comes out and he just assaults everybody. And then I have hitting here. Greg Valentine gets eliminated by Ric Flair. Repo Man gets eliminated by by Big Boss Man.
Disappointing.
And then the British Bulldog gets eliminated by Ric Flair.
And the crowd boos heavily. British
And-
Bulldog in at number 1, fought so hard. The crowd loved him. They wanted to see him last. Flair, of course, is the one that eliminates him. And
Well,
that's a
then
lot
he
of fun.
eliminates Kerry Von Erich, and the crowd boo even louder.
Let me just point out here while we're talking about this. This is one of the best crowds we've ever had for a Royal
Oh
Rumble.
yeah,
Awesome. So good.
I mean the undercard wasn't bad. It was fun for 1992. It was a lot of fun. One of the second match of the card is Roddy Piper versus the Mountie, and they just beat Go Hell for Leather, and the crowd love it. And man, 92 crowds are easy to please.
Really?
Well, they're energetic the whole time, and they are invested bell to bell in this Royal Rumble match, and they have a lot to be excited about. So I get it, but it's really it's what builds on this match is that there's no, a lot of times Rumbles now there's a lull, sort of that 10 to 20 mark. There's kind of a lull in the middle.
The lull in this match is they eliminate half the competitors.
Right, that doesn't exist. So, another thing that happens in this little 2-minute stretch is Tito Santana and Shawn Michaels are eliminated as well.
And a very scary, they just both rush the ropes and tumble out like just a bag of rocks. It's like, oh God,
But
scared me.
there are a few things that are better in booking to me than when an elimination in the Royal Rumble sets up your WrestleMania match.
Oh, I agree.
And what a match that is.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So, Shawn Michaels, Tito Santana, they get eliminated. They end up facing each other at WrestleMania. And it just should be noted, it's another one of those use the Rumble to build storylines.
Oh yeah.
And it's so good.
And then we get number 14, the Mighty Hercules, who goes after Flair. That's 5.
Well, I think before Hercules comes in, we get a just Boss Man and Flair altercation in the middle of the ring, right?
Bossman and Flair, and then when Hercules comes out, he hits Flair, and then he immediately starts he gets pummeled by the Barbarian.
Oh.
Barbarian just beats the dog shit out of him, and then Hercules eliminates the Barbarian. Bossman eliminates Hercules.
Boss Man
Boss Man.
eliminates himself.
So now he's alone with Flair, and then Heenan, I need oxygen. I can't watch this anymore. and then Flair tricks the Bossman, who eliminates himself.
This is the best moment.
Okay, so I want to talk about the actual elimination first. So what do you guys think?
Oh, this is my favorite moment in the
I
1992
was
Royal
crying
Rumble.
with laughter when this happened.
Here's why it is my favorite moment.
Paul's face is red as a
It
cherry
is.
right
It's
now.
so
It's
good.
amazing.
Because I'm like, oh my God, it's so funny.
It's hilarious.
This is, and we'll do favorite moments later, but I'm telling you right now, the next thing that I'm about to say is my favorite moment, because at this point, we're 14 men down, and Flair's back by himself in the ring.
Flair's by himself.
By himself. We're totally reset. And as soon as Flair or Big Boss Man eliminates himself, right? Bobby Heenan, Flair's the champion of the world. Flair wins it.
And then Roddy Piper comes out, and then Bobby has a stroke.
Of all the people, anyone but Piper.
Oh, God, anybody but Piper. That freak wears a skirt.
It's not a kilt, it's a skirt.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. And then Flair, before Piper's in the ring, he's already on his knees begging off.
And the crowd is losing their mind.
It's such a great moment
Piper.
to have the Rumble reset. You don't see that hardly ever, to get back down to just one person in the middle of a Rumble. Heenan's reaction, acting like Flair just won it, is one of my all-time favorite commentary moments ever.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's amazing. It's just perfect.
It's just such a real reaction. Like, he got so excited, he forgot the match wasn't over.
Right. And Piper coming in at 15 is the perfect guy to put in that spot.
I know I just said it a second ago, but just before Piper hits the ring, Ric Flair's already begging off, and then he immediately takes a powder, but then Piper runs after him, and they start brawling on the outside.
I think a lot of people thought Piper was walking out of that pay-per-view with 2 belts.
I thought so, and I knew the outcome of the match. I was like, oh, like the reaction Piper gets coming out is like, why did this man never win that title?
Yeah. So, and not long after this, and I know you guys like wrote down every single name. I just wrote down the biggest like reactions from the crowd. Mm-hmm. The biggest boos that I remember hearing out of everybody was from Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, he's the next one at number 16.
You are aware of what happened before this pay-per-view.
Fill us in, Paul.
This is shortly after the whole he sicks the Cobra onto Macho Man.
Oh.
Yeah, that was at the Survivor Series. This is only 2 months later. So this man is still like Satan in their eyes.
This one where he literally bites.
That's the one where he takes the Cobra out. He smacks in the back of the head and it bites onto Randy's arm and won't
I
let go.
remember that. Yeah.
And like everybody on even Heenan is like, oh my God, what is happening? Like everybody starts having a stroke on commentary because like we just watched a king cobra bite him on the arm, and it took like 5 people to get the snake off.
What a moment!
Thankfully, the cobra was milked, but still, it's a scary moment when that cobra just latches on to Randy's arm and will not let go.
And
then Randy sells as if he's been poisoned, and like that's when they get the EMTs, and he starts like puking on the gurney, and I'm like, this is the smartest man in wrestling, because he's like, I get bit by a cobra. If I don't like start selling and going berserk, no one's going to believe me. So he just starts like wildly punching at EMTs and fighting. And when he gets on the gurney, he makes himself throw up and he falls off and starts like convulsing. I'm like, this man is a genius.
Yeah, it's a really amazing performance. And the performance we get from the 3 guys in the ring at this point, though, is phenomenal, right?
Well, what I love is Jake sits in the corner. He sits in the corner, and then we get an airplane spin and a sleeper hold by Piper, and Jake's just sitting in the corner. He waits until like there's nothing going on, then he blindsides Piper.
And then there's a moment where Jake the Snake has Flair set up for the DDT, and Piper comes in and attacks Roberts to kind of get him back for hitting him earlier on. And Bobby Heenan says, I never thought I'd say this, but thank you, Roddy. It is a kilt, not a skirt.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And then Ric Flair puts the figure 4.
Right, and then he puts the figure 4 on Jake the Snake, and Piper breaks that up. So immediately Heenan says, you skirt-wearing freak, it's not a kilt, it is a skirt.
And then number 17, oh! Hacksaw Jim Duggan comes out.
The winner of the first ever Royal Rumble.
And gentlemen, are you aware of what Hacksaw does when he comes to the ring?
I think he attacks Ric Flair.
He attacks Ric Flair.
I'm sensing a theme.
That's 6.
So whenever it was just Roberts, Flair, and Piper, we get a really cool little spot that I haven't seen. I don't know if I've seen it since. We get a chopped triangle.
Oh, God, it's vicious, too.
Yeah.
Did y'all see that?
Yes.
I mean, it really stuck out in my mind. Okay,
as soon as we get the chopped triangle, Hacksaw starts chanting USA. And the whole crowd, USA.
Jim Duggan gets a huge pop.
He's over.
I would kill for a Jim Duggan USA chant right now.
Right?
Man.
Oh, man.
2x4 and all. Give it to me.
And as the triangle chop is happening, number 18, IRS, and we pointed out earlier when he's walking out, this guy gets it. He just walks slowly, takes his time. And then, gentlemen, can you please read what my note says right here?
It looks like it says goes after Flair.
Thank you. I just want to make iron this point home.
In my notes, it says IRS future contestant on The Price is Raw.
Oh God! But my favorite thing when after he attacks Flair, he tussles with Hacksaw, who grabs his tie and starts punching him. But he's holding the tie.
The use of the tie in this match.
Well, he punches him and he gets knocked back, but then he pulls him back and then he pulls him into his fist while he's punching him. Like, that's actually really smart.
Yeah.
Super smart.
And then Monsoon goes, he shouldn't have worn that tie there. That's what happens.
Number 19 then is Jimmy Superfly Snuka. And
Murderer.
There's that truth injection that
Sorry,
Paul wants to throw.
Sorry,
out there.
I had something.
You got a
caught
little
in my
tickle in your throat?
Yeah, sorry about that.
But at this point, there's so much happening. Bobby Heenan says, "I don't know what I'm even saying anymore." That's a thing that comes out of his mouth.
Well, Snuka comes out, attacks Flair. That's number 8, of course.
Flair, and this is a point where Flair is just. I mean, Flair always in his career took punishment. Like, that is something that he is known for. Like, he just got the shit beat out of him all the time. But at this particular moment, it seems like he's just pinballing back and forth between getting beat up by
Snuka
everybody.
headbutts him, and then we get another triangle chop fest between IRS, Roddy, and Flair. And it's like, God, this just happened a minute ago. Please stop it. He's already dead.
Well, and at this point, Ric Flair's chest was already like hamburger meat.
They say that on commentary. Like, his chest's gonna be like, when you see him, like, it's red. He's got welts. He's got a huge welt on his back from where Boss Man hit him. It's brutal.
And he's been in the ring for over 30 minutes at this point.
Oh yeah,
because
they pointed out how he's closing in on Rick Martel's record. Rick Martel's record was, I think, 52 minutes.
Yeah, 52 minutes, 30-something seconds.
It was 53 minutes and
53,
14 seconds,
okay.
as
Yeah.
a matter of fact.
That was, and at that time, the longest, but it's only the 5th one. Like, yeah, but it's a big deal. Like, somebody the year before was in there for almost an hour.
Right, and then we get to the number 20, so we're 2/3 of the way through the Royal Rumble, and it is The Undertaker, who already, what are we, a year into his WWF career? Already is a huge name.
At this point, he's already a one-time
He's already been champion.
world champion.
That's
And
right.
a favorite to win this match.
Exactly. And then after that happens, look around the ring. In the ring right now, Ric Flair, Jimmy Snuka, Jake Roberts, Roddy Piper, Jim Duggan, IRS, and The Undertaker.
Had never happened before, will never happen again.
You realize, like, all but like one of those men is in the Hall of Fame.
It's mind-blowing, and it was one of those, let me pause and look at this screen and think, wow.
This was one of the many times where I had to pause and like just catch my breath because I was like, "Oh man, what's gonna happen?" Oh, Undertaker! I just went
Well, then Snuka is eliminated by The Undertaker, but he's replaced
immediately.
at number 21 by a man that's looking for revenge, and it's the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
You notice he runs out. Jake Roberts immediately rolls out of the ring and like tries to hide before Macho pulls him out. They roll back in the ring. Macho hits the double axe handle. He eliminates Jake and then jumps over the top rope.
He eliminates himself.
And I wrote down, Macho eliminates himself after getting caught up with the emotion. And then I just kind of put parentheses, pretty sure he just fucked up there.
Well,
And-
that's the thing is, like, we do get the commentary team saying, well, that's what happens when your heart takes over your mind.
I have that, yeah.
And then we get like about
What?
3 seconds.
What a perfect description
Yeah.
of Randy Savage.
Well, then about 3 seconds
Right?
later,
That's
Bobby,
his whole character.
And then Bobby goes, "Well, I don't think he can't eliminate yourself, even though the boss man just eliminated himself." It's because I think Randy he made a mistake. He just
Right.
forgot.
But what a great cover.
They cover from immediately.
saying that to blame it on the emotion, and you're right, that's Randy Savage in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, they say
Beautiful.
They say on commentary that since nobody like pushed him out of the ring, he can come back, and he does come back, and he stays in for a while.
Right.
But and I just wrote down, he just screwed up. I honestly think he just got caught up, forgot that he eliminated. I think he was supposed to go through the middle rope, and he just forgot. It happens.
And Monsoon goes on to, again, just drop a little bit of a breadcrumb about selling Ric Flair. Like, he says, say what you want about Ric Flair. It is very unlikely that he'll win this one, but what a phenomenal athlete.
Oh yeah, and right after that happens, there's a point where Ric Flair goes under the ring again, and then he's attacking Randy, who's standing right by the apron. He tries to suplex Randy out of the ring, and then Randy suplexes him into the ring. But while we do, the camera's like right behind Rick, and you can see all the welts on his back, and it's like, oh Jesus Christ! And as that's happening, number 22, the Berserker.
Well, before the Berserker, I just have another Bobby Heenan line where, Gorilla says that really great thing about the type of athlete Ric Flair is. Well, Ric Flair is the type of athlete that would try to do things that nobody else would do. Mm-hmm. So Ric Flair tries to hit a low blow on The Undertaker, and Bobby Heenan says, he just tried to lift The Undertaker.
I forgot about that. Like, oh my God, it did happen because Taker no-sells it.
Heenan.
Tried to lift him from the low. That's good. But the Berserker comes out at number 22. You're absolutely right.
And I just wrote, Huss, Huss, Huss. And I just wrote, Husses to the ring, attacks The Undertaker. And then I just have written, number 23, Virgil, who immediately attacks IRS. Number 24, Colonel Mustafa.
23 with Virgil. Bobby Heenan says, what number is this? And they say, 21, 22, 23. They don't really know what number it is. And Bobby Heenan says, well, as long as he's been back there, who knows how many bags he's gone through in the back? Because this is after he stole the $1 million title.
Yeah, but I feel like this is like the first instance of like Virgil like stealing shit and like selling it back to people. Like, oh, come on.
It was not good.
That's not what they were thinking, but that's the first thing that popped in my head when he said that.
You're right. Then number 24.
Colonel Mustafa, the Iron Sheik.
Yep.
But you're not supposed to know that.
That's funny.
At this point in the match, Undertaker is just walking around choking everyone.
Oh yeah, he chokes everyone.
That's just what he does.
He does a double choke to Flair and Piper.
He's just
Right.
choking them all.
Right, which I think is a really clever way of protecting Flair at this point.
Yeah. And then as Iron Sheik is very slowly walking to the ring, he gets in there and then immediately gets eliminated.
By the Macho Man. That's right.
Macho Man immediately. And then number 25, Rick the Model Martel. And then
The game changes.
As Rick Martel comes in, Duggan calls for another USA chant.
Seems like a perfect time for one. Why not?
As Rick comes in, this is the point where there's like 10 people in the ring and it gets really hard to follow what's going on. And so, as you said, like we get Taker choking people, Rick's chopping or getting pummeled, rolls out of the bottom ring. Duggan's calling for USA chants. And it's fitting because number 26, Hulk Hogan. And good Lord, that pop. Oof. Hogan goes after Flair.
Bobby Heenan starts begging, swears, "Oh, I'll never do anything wrong. I'll never say anything bad about anybody else ever again." And then, as soon as Hogan lets up on Flair, "Hey, stupid, go get me something to drink."
I love that. I love that.
Hulk Hogan, I want to point out, and this is something that I just thought was really interesting, is Hulk Hogan comes in and he is just giving everybody an eye rake. Everybody gets the eye rake from Hulk Hogan. Now that's a heel move. But everybody and their mom saw an eye rakes around.
I was actually surprised because normally I'm thinking, oh, Hulk Hogan's just doing eye rakes. And then I spoke too soon because Hulk Hogan eliminates The Undertaker, The Berserker, Hacksaw, and Virgil. And I'm like, good Lord.
Yeah, well, so Virgil is eliminated by Hacksaw. And then you're absolutely right. This is when Hulk Hogan rips his shirt off.
Clears the ring, yeah.
And rips his shirt off. And I think that's important because I'm going to bring that up later.
But he doesn't take the bandana off.
He takes the shirt off, so that's important. And then, so Hulk Hogan, now you're starting to kind of get down to the people that have a legitimate chance to win this match. You've gotten rid of Berserker, who didn't stand a chance, right? So you go to number 27, and it's Skinner.
Yeah.
The Alligator Man.
After we've mentioned people who deserve to win the damn thing, Skinner, I put down, Skinner comes out.
I have a theory, I guess, here as to why they would put Skinner here. And I'm thinking it's because they knew no one could top Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So why try?
Right.
And you're going to have Hogan and Flair going at it in the middle of the Rumble. So just send somebody out that no one really cares.
Yeah, Steve Keirn, great wrestler, but just stupid gimmick.
Bobby Heenan says about him, about the Alligator Man, says, all he's got to do is spit right in your mouth. That'll take it out of you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
point out that he's got a mouthful of chew, and it's like dripping down his chest. It's like chew
gross.
coming out. He's like, arr, arr, arr. He's jaw jacking with fans. Just spit and chew coming out of his mouth.
So, yeah, kind of a waste there. Skinner, kind of a waste.
What I like about Skinner, Skinner comes out and Skinner doesn't brawl with Flair. He immediately goes after Piper.
Yeah, he does.
And this is when we find out that Ric Flair has set a new record at being in there for 55 minutes. And then as it's telling us this, number 28, Sergeant Slaughter, who's only just recently become a good guy again.
Yep, Skinner gets eliminated after that. And then number 29 is Sid Justice.
Oof. Sid.
He was so much better as Psycho Sid, wasn't he?
I agree, but like this is when he cared about wrestling and
Yeah.
he tried.
You could see it. I mean, take nothing away from, Sid's in-ring work
Oh, no.
and his ability to sell.
When-
And I even liked his promos.
Yeah.
When Sid wanted to be there, he actually would give out pretty good matches. And there are also, if you know how to book Sid, if you book Sid with somebody like Shawn Michaels, that'll make him look like a god.
Yeah.
Like he could work. He had a match on Monday Night Raw '95 with Kevin Nash. It's actually pretty good. It's because it's just two big men beating the shit out of each other. I'm like, oh.
But so at this point, Sid walks in that ring, and you have Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Sid, Sergeant Slaughter, Randy Savage, IRS, Roddy Piper, and Rick Martel in one ring.
Oh, yeah. And I got to say, as Sid's walking out, Hogan and Flair start brawling. I'm like, ooh, they roll underneath the bottom rope, and then Hogan suplexes Flair on the outside.
Now, remember I told you a little while ago that Hulk Hogan ripped his shirt off after he came out and eliminated the Berserker? Well, now, in between number 29 and 30, Roddy Piper is using that shirt
On Skinner?
to choke people.
But he
And I
chokes
just-
Skinner with it,
it
and it
needs
just
to be
stays on
noted.
Skinner's shoulders for the rest of the match.
It needs to be noted.
That Ric Flair stays in this match the longest, but right behind him is Hulk Hogan's T-shirt because it's there the rest of the match.
Oh, yeah. He chokes Skinner, and it's just around Skinner's neck for the rest of the
And people just use it. The random people are picking it up. They're choking people. It's like a piece of string at one point, and they're just using it. And I thought it was super important and it shouldn't have been left out.
And okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because one thing that I think is important to note about this match is, and so everyone knows Flair wins. Flair wasn't told that he was winning this match until he showed up at the arena that day.
Correct.
And so everything that goes on in this, that's a testament to how everything that goes on in this ring is vast majority made up on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
And so the fact that people are finding creative ways to use Hulk Hogan's T-shirt is just fucking amazing, in my opinion.
Well, we were getting a little off, but I say as Sid Justice walks to the ring, he immediately eliminates Sergeant Slaughter. And then Skinner gets eliminated by Rick Martel. This is whenever Hogan and Piper start brawling. Because remember, that those two never settled their rivalry because they reactivated in '96. But that's another story for another day.
Number 30 is underwhelming, at
the
least
Warlord.
in terms of who else is in this field. But yeah, it's the Warlord at number 30 that enters.
This
this
guy
part.
is scary.
And he wins the award for Roy Magoo. Good Lord, the size of this man.
Who gives out that award?
Well, actually, that's an OSW review award that I kind of stole there. Sorry about that. But good Lord, they said it best. He looks like Steve Austin if Steve Austin was inflated with air.
Oh my
he's-
god, that's never gonna leave me.
Yeah, there-
'Cause
I'm
this
just
man
I'm just
is
picturing
huge.
Steve Austin drinking a beer.
Certainly just puff him up.
And that's-
Warlord.
It's like Steve Austin, he was bitten by a radioactive.
It's so honestly, I didn't mind that number 30 was the Warlord. Okay, you've got this new guy. He's big, scary looking. Let's really sell him as the next big guy. I would
And-
totally get that. And
and
guess what?
Sid just
Flair and
eliminates him.
Hogan. No, Flair and Hogan spill outside to the ring, presumably to give Warlord some room to work. And then
And-
Warlord doesn't do jack shit.
Nope.
He gets eliminated by Sid Justice immediately.
Well, no, he's in there for a little bit, like trading blows, but he doesn't do anything.
No,
That's
and
true.
He's eliminated in 1 minute and 43 seconds, so he's
And
one of the
so
shorter ones.
We
in the
get
match.
Warlord eliminated, and then Hogan and Justice eliminate the Warlord, and then Sid eliminates Martel, and then he eliminates Roddy Piper. And our final four is Randy Savage, Sid Justice, Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair.
We skipped over a really fun spot. Piper eliminates IRS
oh shit!
by using his tie.
Yep.
I have it written down right here.
Bring it
which is
back.
just wonderful.
It is. It is.
I had it written down. I just skimmed right over. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so you get the final four though: Hogan, Justice, Flair, Savage. I mean, could you pick four? Like that's almost a Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Almost like it almost is, at least at this point.
Oh yeah.
And
I was expecting to have like a 5-10 minute sequence here. It's not. It's like a minute and a half.
yeah, it's
It's
not
quick.
long. And Savage is the first one to get eliminated because he gets eliminated by Sid Justice and Flair. And at that point, I'm thinking, well, Randy, you eliminated yourself already, so I don't feel too bad. that
And then
you're
Sid
out second
eliminates
time.
Hogan. The pop when he eliminates Hogan. Like, people were like cheering. I'm like, ooh, I don't think they're expecting the crowd to cheer when Sid eliminated Hogan. And I love this because then Hogan grabs Sid's arm and then Flair just grabs the foot and bloop, throws him right over the top rope. And then the crowd just hits an 11. They just fever pitch.
So Ric Flair, 60 minutes and 2 seconds. Hulk Hogan's shirt lasted longer than 11 minutes and 29 seconds, in case anyone was counting.
Hey, that's longer than the Iron Sheik.
It is.
Then Jack Tunney walks out and gives Flair the title. And then Hogan and Justice start brawling in the ring and have to be pulled apart.
Yeah, that's the part that I forgot about. I remember this match as being Ric Flair's coronation as the champ. Such a great moment. I totally forgot.
Well, that happens,
that
but
Sid
we
and
got to
Hogan-
set up for WrestleMania, brother.
Yeah. Okay. So
Being the
here's
big
my
guy,
thing.
Sid.
Here's my thing, and I don't mean to be like the griper of the group, but I loved the post match build, and I love that we do this. I love that we use the Royal Rumble to build for Mania, and I thought this was actually really well done. I was invested in Hogan versus Justice. I didn't love that this was Hogan taking away from Flair's moment.
Yep.
Because guess what happens? Flair takes his belt and goes to the back, and then the rest of the segment is the two guys that didn't win.
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes of like officials trying to pull them apart, and I'm like,
And
this
the
would have
problem
been
with
this would have been fine if it happened on the outside while Ric Flair's holding up his belt.
Yes.
and being like it would have been a lot better.
Well,
Yes.
they basically help eliminate each other, and that's a lot to work with already.
It's all about Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the problem with this is Ric Flair came from what could have been back then a relative unknown, because there were a lot of people at the time who watched WWF and only WWF.
Correct.
And so if you didn't watch the Southern Territories, you have no idea who Ric Flair is. This is your chance to sell Ric Flair.
And they sell
Give him that
Hogan-
moment.
Hogan and Justice.
And they sell Hogan. I really didn't appreciate it.
This is the match that started OSW referring to him as the Cunt Hogan.
And the night before this, Flair wrestled Hogan and lost.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
of
that
course
tells
he
you
did.
everything you need to know.
Of course he did.
Well, this is just that era, the first decade of WrestleManias, where it is Hogan, period. That's it.
Yeah.
And, Ric Flair wins the title, but he's not the main event at WrestleMania. It's Hogan and Justice.
Hogan and Justice. But thankfully, WrestleMania 8 is the last time that Hogan main evented WrestleMania.
Well, WrestleMania 9, he comes out after
He comes
Bret
out,
Hart and Yokozuna
but
and wins
he's
the
not
title.
he steals the title.
But it's the same type of moment where he takes away
Yeah.
from something that wasn't about
Do you
him at
know?
all.
Do you know what was supposed to happen at WrestleMania 9? I just listened to Bret Hart talk about this. Bret Hart's supposed to lose to Yoko. Hogan's supposed to come out and be like, "Oh man, how like you cheated there, brother. I think you should get a rematch." Hogan called an audible.
Sounds about right.
Yep. He had gotten in Vince's ear and convinced Vince, well, if you really want to boost European sales, I should be champion, brother.
Wow.
Just
I
doesn't stress
did
out.
not know
And
that.
do you know what Hogan does after he wins the belt? He goes to Japan for 3 months.
Okay, so you said he did that to boost European sales.
Yep. And does not go to the European tour. Goes to Japan and
All right.
Wrestles Muta.
My friends listening to this right now across the pond, do you think that would boost European sales? Taking the belt away from Bret Hart and putting it on the guy who's had it put it on John Cena, essentially?
no, John Cena can work.
Ooh. One thing I did love, though, about this Sid Hogan altercation, it goes to cut to a backstage segment with Flair as like a coronation.
Ooh.
And you get a close-up of Sid, and you just hear as clear as day, "I'll kill you."
I love that.
So you go to the coronation, and we played it at the top of the show, we get one of, if not the greatest promo in wrestling history.
And then we get, put that cigarette out.
Yeah, what was up with that?
I don't know, but I'm going to fucking do that to you guys from now on. Just in the middle of whatever you're saying.
Right, not every, yeah,
I just love it because he does that. And I'm like, Gene, we're live, buddy.
Put that cigarette out.
Ric Flair has Mr. Perfect and Bobby Heenan behind him, and with a tear in his eye, it is the greatest moment of his life. And I just inject that promo into my veins, and I will live forever.
Vince hated it. Vince did not like that promo, and he never really promoted Rick very well as his champion. Granted, he didn't like Ric Flair's ring work. He hired Ric Flair because Ric Flair was a big name.
Well, and I heard Bret Hart talk about this too. And it's essentially, you've got 3 categories of being a wrestler, right? You've got your look, and that's how you walk to the ring, what you wear. Your work ability, can you wrestle? And your promo ability, can you sell yourself? And so you rate all of these out of 10 and get up to a total of 30. And they're weighted differently and valued differently by different fans and in different time periods of wrestling. And Vince McMahon valued, I guess your look at this time. It was all about characters.
Well, Ric Flair had a great look and a great character.
But as far as workability, Ric Flair was stuck in the 70s.
He was. The thing about people say this about Ric Flair is he had the same match for 30 years. And okay, he did, but that worked in the territory system when you saw him once a year. It doesn't work. It doesn't work when you're seeing that match every week. But considering that, sure he did, but when push came to shove and it came time to give the fans something, let's talk about him versus Bret Hart. Bret Hart was able to get a really good match with Ric Flair. Mr. Perfect was able to get good match with Ric Flair. Randy Savage was able to get good matches with Ric Flair. I think I think Rick had to respect you. I think if Rick didn't like you, he would just go out there and do the same match.
Well, okay, so at one point, Vince McMahon was furious with Rick. He comes back to Gorilla after a match, and he did none of the spots that Vince asked him to do. And so he says, look, you're going to go back out there. You're going to restart the match. You're going to do it again. You're going to do all the spots I said to do. And he goes back out there and has the same match he had 10 minutes before. And he comes back, and Vince is just like, fuck it. You're not my guy. You're out. And actually, that is why Bret Hart got the opportunity to be the next top guy in WWF. Because Ric Flair didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, as we said, at this point, yes, Rick was still stuck in the 70s. But is it just me, or did Rick have some of his best matches when he came back in 2002?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, my God. I'll never forget the steel cage match with Randy Orton at, what was that, Taboo Tuesday? I love that match.
Yeah, I honestly think Rick just needed time away. Well, he went back to WCW. That humbled him. That's when he came back. I was like, all right, fine, I'll go out there and I'll work. But it's just weird because you hear about, Rick's the greatest of all time. You hear people like Bret Hart who thinks that Rick is should not even be in the list of the greatest of all time.
Right.
And I respect Bret's opinion, but when we talk about those 3 factors, well, even by Bret Hart's definition, Rick he's 20.
He's at least a 20
because
his look is classic. Did you see the robe that he came out with?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's actually in Darius Rucker's basement right now. But that's another story.
Huh.
Yeah, he bought it in 1999, which is interesting.
Darius Rucker.
Darius Rucker, big Ric Flair fan.
Dolphins make him cry.
I think he was referring to the Miami Dolphins.
But no, seriously, Ric Flair, a 10 in look, a 10 in promo. Let's give him an 11 in promo. His in-ring work?
It depends on his opponent. Depends on his work. Like I said, if he didn't respect the guy, then he's going to go out and he's going to just do the Ric Flair match.
Right.
But if you just go back and you look at his catalog, especially later in his career, if he likes the guy he's working with, he's gonna work. And Ric Flair, even when Ric Flair didn't want to work, he could sell. And
Oh,
he could
absolutely.
and he could make you believe that whoever's in the ring with him, like watch his matches with Sting. It's because Rick realized that this guy's going to be a big deal. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make him a big deal. And Sting busted his ass and gave us 3 classic matches. His work with Ricky Steamboat, was he phoning it in for those? No, he was not phoning it in. Ricky Steamboat is like his best friend. He said it a million times. They've had 2,000 matches.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover a Ric Flair Ricky Steamboat match on this podcast.
Well, they had 3 very, very like classic matches that were the 89 best of 3. We definitely have to visit that. We may have to do like a retrospective of those 3 matches because they're all considered classics. But I wouldn't want to take up 3 different spots on the list with that. So maybe we'll do like a Flair Steamboat retrospective.
Maybe so.
Well, let's get to favorite moments of this match. 1992 Royal Rumble. We just went through the whole thing. If you're still with us, thanks. Like
You've
I
got
love
some
it.
endurance, sir.
Super appreciate that.
Man.
I mean, just listen to it in parts. We appreciate that as well.
Undecided.
But favorite moments, I already told you mine earlier. It's when Bobby Heenan celebrates like he won the whole thing halfway through.
I love that.
I just love it. I love this match a lot, and I love that moment. I think it's great.
For me, the opening sequence with Bulldog and DiBiase, they wrestled. It wasn't just they didn't go for eliminate. They just beat each other up, suplexes, short arms, clotheslines, like throw them into the corner, big splashes. They're like working. I love that.
Yeah, no, my favorite moment is Big Boss Man clearing that top rope and just flying out. I mean, that was
Flying
just,
into the 5th row.
It was beautiful.
Sid's elimination spree. He eliminates like 5 people and that's out of
Sid
30
had the
seconds.
most eliminations in this Rumble. He had 6.
6? Okay. And
Yeah,
like 5
Flair
of them
had
were
5.
back to back to back.
Yeah. When you look at, people who lasted the longest amount of time in this Rumble, obviously Flair lasted 60 minutes and 2 seconds. But after that, it's Piper with 34 minutes, IRS with 27, the Bulldog with 23, Savage with 22, and Hacksaw with 20. I mean, that's a list right there.
Oh, yeah.
And
as dumb as it is, I love that closing sequence. I love it. Like the Final 4, I love that moment because like I said, it's so quick because we're used to Final 4 and it's like 10 minutes of back and forth. Nope, it's over. I just love just how quick it was. Like the urgency at that point of the match. Like they didn't stall. They just went for the ending. And as stupid as Hogan and Sid stealing the spotlight, I had a lot of fun during that. When he shouts, "I'll kill you," somewhere Arn Anderson goes, "Yeah, I know."
well, now we have to rank it. And this is going to be one of the toughest for us because this match is going to be so different than a lot of what we put it up against.
Yeah, I agree.
But we have to decide if this match is going to have a chance to be that last match standing.
We've certainly had a trend lately in multi-person matches,
Yes.
and this one takes the cake.
Yeah, you're not going to get more than
Don't
this,
think
really.
we're going to review a match with more than 30 minutes in it.
Man. Okay, so I'll go first
Okay.
because I feel like I'm just going to kind of bring everybody down and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this.
Here we go.
I don't think it goes anywhere above what we have, just simply based on, how into the entire match that I was. It's an hour match. It's tough to be as invested in an hour match as it is anything else we have on that list. And that's just my opinion.
So you're going 8.
I'm going 8.
Okay.
And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be at the bottom of the list after the end of everything. I just don't think... I just genuinely enjoyed Cactus Jack versus Triple H more than this match.
To kind of go to your point, I had no problem being invested. I had a lot of fun watching this match, more fun than I had watching like some of the more modern Rumbles matches that I think are overbooked and go on way too long. Maybe it was just the fact that I knew from the beginning of the show, everybody's in the match, no surprises, there's no shenanigans. This is Ric Flair's night to shine, and he did. But I don't think this is the best match we've reviewed so far. I had a lot of fun with it, but I also had a lot of fun watching thumbtacks and barbed wire and trash cans. So I'm going to put this at number 8 as well. So, Spencer, I mean, your opinion doesn't count. But
This is my number 1.
So your opinion is moot, but I still want to hear it.
Thanks so much. I appreciate getting at least, a place to talk. honestly, when I think about this match, I think it's great. I think it sets the bar for a Royal Rumble match in a lot of ways. I do think that the promo that we get after the match certainly helps it. I think it bumps it up because it makes it this moment in time that we can look back at and really appreciate. But I think people will stop listening to this podcast if we rank one more thing above Eddie and Ray.
I don't know. The ranker right now is very different from our list.
Which I love.
And I feel like the fans are being a little passive aggressive by voting down Shawn and Triple H to the bottom.
Personally, I would probably put this above Triple H and Cactus Jack. Just because of the star power in this match. It's incredible. I think this match stands the test of time, and I appreciate it for that, and I love it for that, which is why I would put it above that. But as we both said, my opinion at this point is invalid.
I disagree. This is still a discussion. Nothing is final until we say it's final.
I was joking
so
when I
make
said
your
that.
argument.
So-
It's hard for me to take a match that has 15 Hall of Famers, where you get breakout moments from Shawn Michaels, where you get 23 minutes from the British Bulldog, who looks better than he ever does in his career. Like right now, this is the best he looks. Where you got Ted DiBiase fighting early on, where you've got Greg Valentine, where you've got Rowdy Roddy Piper, who is a walking storyline. Like, it's absolutely brilliant what he does in this match, and the little mini feuds that you get throughout. You get Savage and Roberts. You get Flair and Hogan, and you get the new feud with Hogan and Justice. It's just, there's so much in this match, and yeah, it's an hour, and yeah, it's a lot to keep up with, but it pays it all off at WrestleMania.
It does.
I agree.
What happens after that, though, right? Because Flair isn't around for much longer, and
Flair-
Hogan's not around for much longer, and Savage and Roberts aren't around for much longer.
No.
I just feel like it's almost, at the end of the day, it was fun, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every second of it.
Like
but what did it do?
Well, 50% of the competitors in this match are out of the company within a year.
At the same time, 50% of this match are Hall of Famers.
That's true.
And you look at this list, like, yes, we rank a lot based on the legacy that this match has. And my argument for the legacy of this match is that when people think about the Royal Rumble, this is still the match they think about.
That's a good point.
It's 2019. This is still the Royal Rumble they think about. And like, does that make it the best match of all time? No. Does it deserve to be on the top 100? I think so. Absolutely.
100%
Will it be our last match standing? Probably not. But is it a little bit higher than Cactus Jack Triple H? In my eyes, it is. And that's just because of who's in it and the impact that it has in the moment and how well it's executed.
And you do have someone on your side. Tim would agree with you. So I think that would sway the scale. And in my opinion, I'm comfortable putting it above Cactus Jack and Triple H.
You've convinced me. I'll put it at number 7.
All right.
You hear that, Mom? My voice matters.
And so right now, our list as it stands: number 1, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, SummerSlam 2002. Number 2, Bret Hart, Steve Austin, WrestleMania 30. Number 3, the X Division Championship 4-Way at NWA TNA.
That's WrestleMania 13.
Not WrestleMania 30. Would have been a very different contest.
I'm sorry.
Bret Hart and Steve Austin.
That would have been fun to watch. Number 4, Trish versus Lita on that episode of Raw. Number 5, Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky at WrestleMania 32. Number 6, Eddie versus Ray at Halloween Havoc. Number 7, the Royal Rumble 1992. And number 8, Cactus Jack versus Triple H. Now, something that I just mentioned briefly as a joke.
So actually, before you do that, I want people to look it up and vote themselves.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so Paul's about to bring up the ranker, and
The ranker is very different from our
it is
list.
different, and I want you to go look at it. I want you to go look at our ranker. You can find it ranker.com/lastmatchstanding. We're hard to search if you just search for us. So just type in our actual URL.
We'll put a link on Twitter if anybody wants to look at it that way.
Yeah, and
But
it should also be in the show notes.
Yeah.
in this exact moment on the ranker, number 1 with 27 upvotes and only 3 downvotes is Bret Hart and Steve Austin. Number 2 with no downvotes, 10 upvotes is the 4-way X Division title match. I'm like, ooh, interesting. Number 3 with 25 upvotes and 3 downvotes is Eddie versus Ray. Number 4 is Triple H and Cactus Jack with 24 up and 4 down. Number 5 is Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky with 17 upvotes and 3 downvotes. Number 6 is Trish and Lita with 12 and 9. And at the very bottom is Triple H and Shawn Michaels, which is almost 50-50. It's 14 and 12.
We want to know what you think, though. That's why we have the ranker. That's why we love it. We want you guys to let us know how you feel, because that ranker page is going to be sort of a combination of what you're all feeling. Because by the end of this, guys, we will have one last match standing, and that's going to be really awesome. And it might be different than what you think it's going to be or what you want it to be, but your input absolutely matters. So we want to hear it from there, which is great.
Although I do feel like when we do get to the very end, there's going to be like an epilogue where we're going to dissect both lists, because I'm very interested to see how these lists go, because right now it's almost backwards.
Yeah,
And
I think we're gonna have some kind of interesting way to determine what the actual last match standing is.
Yeah, it'll be a combination of what we've come up with and what you guys have come up with, because I think that's important. Because the thing is, when you make a list like this, it's going to be subjective no matter what.
Oh, I agree.
Like, there's no finite answer. But I think we can come up with the best possible list if we do take as many opinions as we can.
Agreed.
That's why I feel like when we get to the very end, I really feel like we need to put both lists side by side and go, all right, here we go.
So you know
We've
what
got
what I would love is when you go to ranker.com/lastmatchstanding and you go rank things yourself, let us know why. You can comment. You can send us a comment on Twitter at lastmatchcast. You can send us an email, lastmatchstanding@gmail.com. We want to know. We want to know why you feel the way you feel, why you feel differently than us, if you feel differently than us, because we love that, because we know we in no way are the standard bearer for, opinions on these things, right? So we want to hear about it. We want to hear more match suggestions. I shouted out those people earlier in the show who were able to send us match suggestions, and we had some really good ones, but we know we have some that we still are missing out on because we might not have your favorite match of all time. So definitely send us yours if we haven't covered or you think we might not cover it, because we have an extensive list, but we want to know what you want to listen to as well. Find us on Ranker, rate us on Apple Podcast, share us on Spotify, whatever it is, wherever you're listening to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. With a tear in my eye, we're very thankful for that. And we got another one lined up for you next week. It's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun.
Have we announced it yet?
If you saw it on the Twitter poll, it'll be the King of the Ring match between Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle.
That is just, I'm going to have a hard time being objective, because that is one of my favorite matches. Like, when I was a kid, I was convinced that's the match that convinced me this is real.
I hate to interrupt, but it's Kurt Angle versus the best in the world.
Oh, fuck off.
No, that's going to be so much fun. I'm glad it's our first Kurt Angle match, which is super, super fun. And if you have not seen that match, man, oh man, you're absolutely right. You talk about how real it is.
Oh.
It's
Dustin, you remember this match?
Yes.
This is the one that you asked us to do a while back.
yeah. So this one's going to be a whole lot of fun. It might not last as long as this episode did, if I had to guess.
Well,
but
that match is only about 20 minutes long.
But-
it's not 60.
But man, there's a lot that happens in that 20 minutes. So,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It is
Yeah, so
bell-to-bell action.
we are more than excited to cover that one with you next week, where we review, relive, and rank that match for you next week. But until then, as always, I'm Spencer,
Woo! I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
and this is Last Match Standing.